Yeah, it's a weird one. I think for me, it's instinct. It's your gut feeling. It's your navigation system. And sometimes something might drop into my mind, and I think that doesn't resonate with me. So it's obviously me talking rubbish, you know. Other
Yeah.
times, you think, oh, the sound of that, that feels good. That, yeah, I like that. I like that. But I know
Yeah.
it's very simplistic, you know, because this is early days in the understanding, you know, of all of this. I do remember though, sort of a few years ago. So so years ago, I did martial arts, meditated, all that sort of stuff, and I wanted to quieten this down. So my son was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and I remember laying on the bed, just going through the process of chilling down and letting the weight drift away and all that sort of stuff. And I remember saying, "Well, come on then, come on, you're out here. Come on, come on, you show yourself. Give me a sign." And with that, somebody grabbed me by the wrist. I jumped that far off the bed. I was convinced it was Tom. I was looking at, I thought the little bastard had snuck in and was hidden under the bed and just grabbed me, you know. There was nobody there. That was
But
so.
you wanted a
Anyway,
sign. You
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
a
yeah.
sign.
Yeah, I wanted a sign, all right. It was the most real thing I ever experienced. And, you know, you know, we were talking about the ETs early on and stuff like that. If V had sort of given me a bit of feedback from the session you did last week, and like I was saying, just at the time there was a delivery driver just delivering something out the car park, the houses over there. You know, if some sort of strange ship landed out of the air or just materialized, some bloke or bird or being got out of it, I think my sphincter would just go. And I don't want to know, mate. This is beyond my pay grade. This is not something I want to deal with in this lifetime. Thank you very much. But I'm sure everybody else would react the same way. I think V said, you know, the first thing that you Americans do, pull a gun on it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And the team, not the Divine Guidance team, but Matthias and company, said, pointed that out. They said, what is it that you do when you come across in all your movies or TV shows when the alien lands? And they referenced the day the Earth stood still.
Don't know the film.
But what do all of your movies do when an alien ship lands? Is the military comes out and you start shooting. You start shooting before you ask any questions.
Yeah.
Another reason why the ETs probably aren't going to land on the White House lawn. What they will do is very secretly meet with one of you, probably the president or another world leader or a small group of world leaders. Oh, wait a second, they do that now.
Yeah, they do.
They already do that. You know, it's
but
that
not everyone. But not everyone.
Not
it all
everyone.
depends on the constitution of the man who's sitting or the woman who's sitting in that seat.
Yeah, it depends upon the individual.
You talked about how you perceive the reaction. It wasn't as you wanted, and I don't know who your audience were, but do you think it goes further than that? And funny enough, I wrote the word lazy down, and you sort of did deal with it to some extent. And I suppose it's my primitive English that if you don't get off your arse.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, a little excitement.
That's the issue. I don't have too many questions, but I was going to ask you about that fucking dog.
There was a big dog, a little puppy, and the little puppy got scared of the big dog, it's all cool now. The puppy's been rescued and the big dog is gone with his master. And
Good.
the big dog wouldn't hurt a flea, but it's just that the little puppy is a puppy and
Yeah,
you've never
yeah.
seen anything that big.
And
Yeah.
the cat was outside on the back
The
patio
cat was
too.
outside. My cat was outside on the patio or somewhere around the patio or beyond the fence. And I was afraid that a dog had gotten over there and that my cat had been harmed in such way. And I just heard a lot of noises. And so I had to react and make sure everything was covered. She's fine. She's fine. She's in. She's staying in. She was alarmed, but she's fine. I don't think she even left the patio, but she's fine. But just a little excitement. Just a little excitement.
Oh, bless you. Anyway.
Oh,
Right then, I have a question.
yes, ma'am. Sir.
Part of my journey, lots of reading. I was introduced to people like Brian Weiss and Dr. Michael Newton talk so much about past life. They did a lot of work around past life regressions and stuff like that. I found it stunning. The Many Lives, Many Masters, and then the Journey of the Souls, Destiny of the Souls. Are you familiar with the book or
Yes,
books?
I am. Yes, I am.
So that was brilliant because for me, it really it resonated with me, and it forms part of my faith going forward. You know, we have the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on the door, and I stop them dead in a track, and I say, well, actually, I'm not going to die because I'm an eternal soul. I might get rid of this meat suit, but you know, I'm on my journey, darling. It's apparently 500 plus now, so I'm just a little junior at the moment. But I've got somebody, I'm not close to her, even though she is a relative. But several people who are close to me are close to her. And she's probably going to pass away in the next couple of weeks. I mean, or even days. I mean, I didn't think she would pass away yet because I don't think the time was right for her. But that's neither here nor there. But so I'm quite chilled when she does, that she will go on and go through what we all know will happen and eventually continue with her journey. How do I articulate that without sounding like a complete nutter to somebody who is quite in grief at losing a mother, a stepmother, an auntie?
I get this question a lot. And I do believe in reincarnation. I've taught a class on reincarnation. I know about my past lives. But somebody who doesn't probably is either one of two things, very religious, or is an atheist. And I've had to deal with a lot of people in both of those camps. For the atheist, there's, you know, that's the end. They'll be pleasantly surprised. There's nothing more you can tell them. You're just trying to make them as comfortable as possible. For the very religious, well, you know, I'm going to meet my maker. I'm going to be heaven. Jesus is going to take care of me. And you just have to comfort them. You're not at the end of somebody's life like that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to try to convert somebody and their belief systems, because that's
no, sorry, Blake, you misunderstood me.
Okay.
Sorry, you misunderstood me. I'm not talking about the person who's dying. That's you know, that.
Oh, you give the person that's comforting the dying.
Yeah, or not even that. But so if it's my stepbrother's mother. It's my sister who was quite close to her.
Okay.
I for whatever reason, I'm not close to her. But she's likely to pass away anytime soon. So do I just let them deal with their grief in their own way? I'm quite chilled that she's going to go on. She's going to continue to do whatever she's going to do in future lives, all that sort of stuff. Do I just stay out of it?
Yes.
Or that's what that's my instinct.
Yeah,
So you
stay out of it because
yeah.
because of people's different belief systems and how they react to death and the grieving process. If they haven't come around to believing in anything beyond this world at this point, or if their belief system says again in heaven, this is not the time to convince anybody. If they start seeing things after the person has passed and said, oh, I feel like so and so is around me, or I saw something like a bird that the person loved, or heard a song, I keep seeing a song, and I know they love that song, and I don't hear that song often, and now I'm hearing it all the time. At that point, you can make a very gentle suggestion that perhaps your loved one is trying to say hello to you.
See, I get, again, this is something you might be able to correct me on, but I get really angry with this individual because I compare that individual to my own mother. Now, my own mother has heart failure. My mum fights for every day. She lives every day full on. She goes for it full on. She will die at some point, like all of us. And then there's my stepmother, right, who has tried to take her life 4 times, has damaged herself in the process. She sits there now, her existence sitting there in her own urine and feces because she can't be asked to get up. She is the one who is in hospital. She is the one who is dying. She is.
And so you're getting mad at an individual who.
No, please, no. Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. No, I'm not getting mad at anybody at all. But am I right in believing that you don't go and find death, for starters? Death finds you. There's a defined time that you agreed that you will move on, and if you don't like your lot, tough, you've got to make the most of it. Now, the comparison I'm trying to draw is my mum fights every day for her existence. Shouldn't that lady be, if she chooses to live her life sat there in her own feces and urine, wouldn't she have been far better off getting off her arse and fighting it and trying to move? And surely the lesson is here. You don't know when you're going, but make the most of every day.
That may not be her journey this time around.
So it is part of her journey then. It is that there is a lesson here that she is learning and having to learn.
Yeah. I mean, so for the person that fights, good. That is their temperament. That is their belief system.
Mm-hmm.
But for the person who doesn't and gives up, that's their temperament. That's their belief system. That's who they are. They may not have a strong will as your mother has, or another person who is going to fight. That happens every day. But we can't fault them for something that they're not capable of. In other words, the one that is dying currently is just not capable of fighting like your mother does. And that's their journey. That's their outcome. And that's how they choose to live, because they have free will to do whatever they choose. That's their free will to do whatever they choose when it comes to the end of their lifetime.
Does it make me judgmental that I already had this suspicion of this lady many years ago? My instinct was that she was like that. And I used to sometimes think, Chris, you've been a bit harsh on her. But actually, my instinct's been proven right, you know?
Your instincts, regardless if they've been proven right or wrong, the fact is that humans judge other humans.
Yeah. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
And I can tell you this, that the Divine Guidance Team does not judge humans for judging other humans, because humans judge humans.
So
part of the whole situation here.
So if the Divine Guidance Team don't judge, I'm assuming they are way a different level on their journeys to what we are here. Does that make us wrong, or are we just immature?
There's no such thing as wrong or right.
So they don't judge. You just said yourself they do
They
not
don't
judge.
judge.
But then I've
don't.
just said to you that my instinct was that she was like that. Therefore, the inference you could draw is that I am judging.
Not necessarily.
Not
You
necessarily.
could have had a sense. You just could have had a sense.
I
You
have
had a
that
sense.
sense. I have that sense.
You had that sense, but the fact that you're judging yourself about judging someone else.
I am, yes.
Indeed, you know, again, humans judge other humans. It's just part of being human. There's no right or wrong in that unless you are
Judging maliciously.
and that's the law of cause and effect. So if you're going to judge other people so much, it's going to boomerang on you.
Yeah.
On
Sorry.
the converse side, if you judge people in a positive manner, it could boomerang on you. At that point, it becomes energy.
We're talking about boomerang and the things. So we talk about judgment almost in negative terms here. Well, that's the way I interpret what you're saying here, and it's not meant to be like that. My instinct is she was weak compared to my own mum, who is a lot stronger. That was all. That has been my instinct for a long,
And that's fine. If you're just comparing apples and oranges,
yes,
or
I am.
or
Yes, I
apples
am. Yes, I am.
without any judgment, then that's fine too.
I am very
If you're
much.
just comparing and saying, "Oh, this apple is like sweeter than this tart apple," there's no judgment there. You're just making an observation.
But if you're trying to make an orange an apple in your judgment, that's when you go wrong.
Right. That's when you go into a judgment mode.
Yeah.
We're not going to say anything about it being right or wrong. It's simply a judgment. At
Yeah,
that
but
point, the
but if it like
comparison becomes a judgment.
yeah, but like I said, if you have an apple and an orange and you're trying to make the orange an apple,
Right.
then
that.
that's when
You're
it falls on you.
You're trying to make somebody or something not true to its own nature.
Yeah, and that's not what you're doing. You're just observing.
If you're just observing, you're observing.
Yeah, it's. I suppose it's. I hate this when I'm sat here with you sometimes because it's me. But I'm taking advantage of the fact, I'm trying to work out what's going on with me.
That's fine.
And,
that's fine. That's
so,
what it's all about.
No, I'm not being judgmental, but in a way, I think, do you know what? Shit, you were right about your. I want to say judgment, your instinct, and she really wound me up quite a lot through my relationship with her, which goes back, 40 years really. And that was always the view I had of her. And it was a way of trying to quantify our relationship, if that makes sense. And I think I know what I'm trying to say. I'm not articulating it particularly well, am I?
I think that coming to the end, I think what's happening for you right now, Chris, is that this woman is coming who means something to you.
Not at all. Can I stop you there? Not at all. Actually,
Okay.
the opposite.
Okay,
the opposite.
You're aware of this person dying.
Yeah.
And you're just in a comparison mode and looking at her. And it's something we all do when you see individuals who could have done more with their lives. They could have done something different. And we feel for those individuals because they're not as strong-willed, or they took the wrong road, in our opinion, or they didn't live up to the potential of what they could have done. Coulda, woulda, shoulda done. And again, that becomes either a comparison or a judgment, and it's a fine line in some cases.
That's really interesting you say that, because my mum, and again, quite personally, I always say my mum is the cleverest, most unsuccessful person in the world. And I truly mean that, not as a judgment, but as an observation.
But she could have been like that, and your mom could be like that. And this goes back to fear, a conversation about fear. People fear being judged, and therefore they don't live up to their potential.
I think for me, and the way I view this, and this is actually genuine from my heart, and that's why I'm really comfortable about this whole shooting match, is I was quite happy to accept with Mum that she made her choices, and good or bad, that's not for me to judge, but the outcome of where she is now is as a consequence of the judgments or decisions she has made. And I'm not judging it. It's very much about me trying to unravel this life, if that makes sense, you know?
So
And it's just an
your
observation.
journey is not your mother's.
No,
And she lived her life and has lived her life according to
yeah.
her own journey and her own belief systems. And you've decided you're going to live your life. And, you know, with our loved ones, especially with our children, we have a tendency to go, oh, she could have been this, and they chose to do that. And I wanted the very best for them because I gave birth to them, I raised them, I love them, whatever the circumstances around the child. And when they don't go the way we think they should go, we get all upset. And if you can make peace with the individual's journey, whatever that journey is for them, then you're doing a service to yourself and to that other person because you're doing it.
Do you know, and that is something my instinct has really screamed at, is make peace with yourself.
Yes.
And that is it. But I will, something you just said there, I will thank you, team. Thank you so much for that one piece of advice you gave me not so long ago. And that was stop lecturing your son, just be there to support him. Let him lead your response. And it's brilliant. It's just chilled everything down to a great level. So thank you for that.
So it's working.
Yeah, it is.
Advice is working.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
Good.
So,
Yay. This is why I do what I do, because the team, it's not me that's giving the advice, it's the team. But I've seen so much good coming out of the advice that they do give. And so I'm just the channel I'm the messenger, but don't shoot the messenger. But I've seen so much good come out of their wisdom, their guidance. So I'm really happy that the relationship between you and your son have improved.
Yeah, I'll say what I've got to master though is my lot. That's what I'll call them, my lot. You know, I shouldn't be having this conversation with you. I should be having the conversation with my lot in my own short time, and we all talk the same language. So ask the team this: what are my lot called? And do they talk to me? And am I barking up the right tree, or am I completely missing the point?
You are indeed barking up the right tree.
Thank you.
You are indeed talking to them, because my team, it's not my team, it's everybody's team. These archangels and these ascended masters, they're for everyone. I do not, like a lot of the other ones that I named earlier, I have no exclusivity with these guys. It's everybody's. Your team is my team. I just happen to be able to translate what they're saying when people don't have that ability.
So what I've got here, this is how I visualize it. So we're up, and then there's this concrete ceiling. So there's a portal, a hole open, and you've got your collective hanging over the edge, and sort of saying, "Oi, Blake," so and so, and I'm saying, "Oi, Blake," and your lot are going screaming up above, going, "Oi, you lot over there, are you talking to him or not? He's asking you," and that's how I visualize it.
Yeah, it's just really, and that's a lot of times I'll do this. I'll look up
Yeah.
and or just over there, or if they happen to be here.
Yeah.
Which is mostly it, I just because the heavens, okay. We think of them as
Yeah.
the heavens
Yeah.
are up.
Yeah.
But yes, you're not barking up the wrong tree, you're barking up the right tree, if there was a wrong and right tree.
Yeah.
Which there isn't, but you're on the right path, you're doing everything you should be. You'll know it because your instincts and your intuition is spot on. And when they talk to you, yeah, they're talking to you and you're beginning to know it. So they're applauding the fact that you're asking such wonderful questions so that they can and you can have more intimate conversations with one another. And because you're more open to all of this, then they feel more comfortable in talking with you without scaring you. Because a lot of people get scared. Again, there's that fear factor.
The grab by the wrist. The grab by the wrist.
Yeah, well, you asked for a sign. You were adamant, and they wouldn't have done that if they didn't think you were ready for it. And you needed something. You sometimes, okay, this is coming from them. This is not me. And the ascended masters will sometimes judge. The angels don't, but there is some judgment from some of the ascended masters.
Well, because they were human.
Because they were human, so they know what it's like. And sometimes we can all be our worst enemy. And that goes for you as much as Blake or Victoria. We can all be our own worst enemy. Blake was talking about, and this is the team coming through, and it sounds like her because we're using her vocal cords and her voice. But the fact is that Blake was self-sabotaging just the other day. And so what we have done is put in her path a book that we thought perhaps she might get something out of. It is called The Mountain Is You. So she was talking to her friend Tom the other day, and with no intention of him doing such, but suddenly Tom felt compelled to say, oh, I will buy this book and send it to Blake. And he did. It should be arriving today or tomorrow, at which point she will start reading it. And hopefully she will learn one of the reasons, or two of the reasons, or even three of the reasons, or the many reasons, yes, that she self-sabotages herself. Because we really wish she would stop that. And then perhaps if she learns a few lessons, she can pass them along to others. Because she has said to us, oh, I would like to start teaching workshops and classes again, but I don't know what to teach.
Okay, team, got to ask you this. This is massive. So how many lives have you lot lived? How far off are we from you? How many lives have you lived in this, not time, but plane? How many more lives have I got to live before I have this wisdom?
Okay, you asked a lot of questions there.
Yes.
And there's a lot of us. So
yes,
many of us are ascended masters. That means we stopped having the need to live on the earthly plane as you know it, and we move to a higher level of existence, i.e. what you call ascension, which has nothing to do with evolution. It's two different processes. Sometimes you mix up the two. So we no longer have the need to live further lives. We can if we choose to, and sometimes we do. Several of us have been ascended masters and different beings throughout time. Go look that up. She needs to write a book about that.
I've just made notes. I've just made notes.
And so now the archangels, for the most part, they've never been human. We say for the most part. There's There's a lot of stuff going on around that whole situation. But as far as humans deciding to live a life, when you decide, oh, I don't want to come back, or I'm going to ascend to a different, if you're not a Mother Teresa, if you're not a Jesus the Christ, if you're not a Buddha, Siddhartha, if you're not an immortal being, then chances are you're going to want to reincarnate. Now, you have choices in reincarnation. You can come back as a human. You can come back as an alien. In other words, you can live off a different planet. You could become an animal, a plant, or a rock. We don't care. Most humans come back as other humans because they leave tribe here. They leave their families here. And because your families are still here, then you want to come back and join that tribe because that's just a comfort thing. They're not ready to become an inanimate object or something. So you've got a ways to go. So if you can rise to the point where in your earthly body, you have sacrificed enough and you have no earthly possessions and all your concentration is on helping other people and have no selfishness and self-centeredness, then maybe you can ascend to masterhood.
You got to be here a long time with the sound of it then, team.
Yes, sir. That would be a correct assumption.
Wow. So is that wrong for me to want material things? Is it wrong for me to want to enjoy all of the sins, or not sins, but all of the joys of the flesh?
No, it's perfectly fine to have all of that. And at your stage of evolution, you should have all those desires. We're here to help you have all those desires. There's not a lot of ascended masters on this planet that have come to that mastery.
So you've walked the same path as me for many
of us have. Yes, we're quite familiar.
You say many of us.
Many.
By that, implications are that some of you haven't.
Several of us haven't. Several of us have, and again, it goes back to your definition of ascended masters, your spiritual channels, this one, others who have determined what the group of ascended masters look like. Many of us are considered gods or goddesses. Some of us have been human, have been immortal, have been reincarnated many times. Several thousands, 10,000 times to be able to get to that mastery. You don't even get to a point of understanding reincarnation or even talking to us until you're about 300 to 500 lives in. Otherwise, your belief system is of a different nature. None of this is right or wrong. It's how you choose to live your life. But there are consequences of living a life of that is going to hurt others or yourself. Now, we would love to discuss the subject of what you just called sin, because that has been a word bandied about for so many decades. And this one also had that question. Well, what is sin? She asks us one time. And so Master Yeshua came up and said, let's talk about sin and what it really means and what your belief systems, he called them religious institutions, because that's indeed what they are, belief systems, have allowed you to believe what that word means. But if you get to the root of the word, it simply means not living up to your potential. That's all it means.
That's really interesting. that is fascinating. The
You have
last
to
bit.
do a deep enough dive into the material that is presented to you at this time on Earth to be able to come to that definitions. Other people will describe sin as a moral issue, but the root cause, the root of that word comes from not living up to your own potential. Now that's deep. We understand that. If you're not living up to your own potential, then
How do you? Sorry to jump in here, but I really need to understand this. How do you define potential, as opposed to how I would define potential of this life? Is it the same thing, or do I have a different take on potential
yes,
to what you do?
we don't judge your potential. It's strictly a human concept. It's up to the individual, society, culture, and individual who decides what that potential is or isn't within an individual. It is your parents, it is your culture, your religion. When she was a little girl, she was told repeatedly, "You have such potential. Why aren't you living up to it?" This made her feel bad because, first of all, she was a child and didn't understand the concept of living up to one's potential. Living up to one's potential, as we observe, we do not judge, but what we have observed about humans is, again, it's a judgment. And again, we do not judge. You do a really good job of that yourselves. But it is your parents and your religion and your belief system and your culture who dictates. And finally, it's to the individual that says, "No, I do not want to become a lawyer like my family wants me to. I want to become a doctor. So I'm going to go become a doctor, or a guitar player, or an artist, or a writer, or something that my society says is worthless, and I'm being lazy." And yet, what would you humans do without beauty of art? What would you not do with the sound of beautiful harmonic music? And yet, many of your society members would have you want to earn a decent living so that you can learn to not live in a shack, but live in a mansion. And again, these are impositions that society and culture and your parents and your country and your world place upon the individual. And so the living up to one's potential is based on all of that. And finally, it has to come down to the individual. And that's why we applaud people who go their own path. And we're here to help see that path through. And thus, this is called, her company is called the Angelic Path. We're trying to help you form your own path and go down your own path.
Yeah. So it's those internal arguments with oneself. You know, you had some great achievements in my case, and I have, and I'm really proud of the stuff that I've done. But you know what? My expectations of myself are a little bit more simple now. Is that peaceful life? It is chasing a few more of those little material things that I want, and that'll do me. Thank you. I'm loved. I'm happy. Got a big smile on my face. But occasionally I think, oh, Chris, you should be pushing yourself, you know. I don't think I want to anymore.
Then don't. Then don't. You've lived a very full life.
Yeah.
And so it comes to a point in the road where a human being who is older and lived much life already As long as it is fulfilling and you have no regrets, then indeed enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Well, I've got you here, and I will ask another question. It's a shame that there isn't a group of us, because I fell asleep the other night when I should have been with a group. So I've read, as again, lots. I love the work of Michael Newton. So the life I'm living now, and you've probably been asked this a million times, is it predefined? Is it that I've been there with my own guides between lives, and I've been here to do this, and when I've done it, we'll do it all again. Did Newton and his writings, was it pretty close to the mark, or is he way off the mark?
He's not way off the mark, and she's not real familiar with his work, Destiny of Souls. But we have taught her, and we have said this to other people. And one, we want to correct you, not that you're wrong. So the word correction is not the appropriate word, but it's one that she uses, and so we're going to use. It is. Your question is one that she has heard before, and this is the answer we provide. And it doesn't matter if we've heard it a million times or not. That's what we're trying to say. So many of you are hung up on this destination or fate or soul contracts. Soul contracts are made by you. Contracts are meant to be broken and can be broken. You made the contract, you can break the contract. So the fate or destiny in between lives, when you're sitting down with one of us or a group of us and saying, I've done my time here, I've enjoyed my time here, but I think I want a little bit more contrast. I want to be able to grow a little bit more, and here is so peaceful and all my needs are met, and it's getting boring. And when we come to this explanation, all of you are going, I could use a little boringness. I could be a little bored right now. My life is chaotic, and we've already talked about how you can undo that. But your question is about soul contracts and fate and destiny. So we sit down and we say, well, okay, you're going to go back to Earth or someplace else. What would you like to accomplish? Would you like to accomplish anything? Would you like to just be a rock and just sit there? Would you like to be a gem and be in somebody's collection and sparkly pretty? And we have these discussions. You've had your life review. You have, and it takes as long as it takes. It's not one conversation. It's a process. And you finally say, well, in past lives, I've done this, this, and this. In this lifetime coming up, I think I do want to go back to Earth, and I want to learn patience. And we say, great. And how do you want to accomplish that? Well, I am under the impression that I could get everything done in one lifetime, and then I could ascend into mastery. And we're saying, well, no, it doesn't work that way. And we try to convince you otherwise. And again, these are a series of conversations. And you're like, no, I want to get everything done and over with at the one time. And so there's back and forth. And finally you convince us, okay, fine, it's up to you. And so you come back to life and you're in a family that is absolutely rotten to the core. You're in a car accident early on in life and wind up in a wheelchair. Your childhood is so crappy that you wind up attracting spouses that make your life even more crappy. You fall into victimhood, so you blame everything but yourself. And we look and you forget about us, and you forget to even ask for help. And so eventually you either do the old, I've had enough of this and I'm going to get cancer, I'm going to crash my car and die this time, or I'm simply going to take a gun to my head and drown and die. And then you come back to us and say, what's happened? And this is what people say is fate or destiny. Oh, it was their fate to do that. It was their fate to get in all that much trouble. It had nothing to do with that. It was your decision to come back and try to do everything all at once. And then you decide not to pivot when you get here. And we have, so there's no real such thing as fate or destiny. There is synchronicity, and it's based upon who and what you wanted to do when you got here. Now, we just showed you a terrible lifetime. Let's look at a pleasant lifetime. You decide, hey, I really miss my husband, wife, significant other, and I want to go back, and they've already left heaven, and I want to meet up with them again. I want to be part of their life again. I want us to be fated and destined to meet again and be together again. And because we have access to you, whether you're alive or dead, because it's simply two states of the same coin, we go and ask that person and make sure that they want to be destined. Oh, yes, I miss her so much. I miss him so much. So let us finish with your question. Fate and destiny are illusions because they are part of the scenario you set up with or without your loved ones in the in-between lives time. And then you can come and you can change your fate and destiny at any given time. Does that answer your question?
It does, but then one answer leads into another question, doesn't it? So have I achieved what I set out to achieve? I feel I've done reasonably well, but there's always that underlying feeling there's more. So I guess the question is there more?
That's entirely up to you.
Wow.
That's entirely up to you.
So
we are here to guide, love, and support you with whatever you do. But we're not here to judge and say, yes, you've done everything you wanted to, because that's up to you. If you feel at peace with where you're at, then you've probably fulfilled everything you came to do.
is that a bad sign?
Do a laundry list of things that you came to do. If you're feeling at peace, then you have fulfilled your own list of things to do.
Does that mean that I'm going to be taken out of this life now then?
Not necessarily. You can always think of something more to do.
Yeah.
You can always find purpose. Your Native Americans have a wonderful way of processing their end of life. They come to the realization that they're done, and so they let go. Your Wayne Dyer did that. He came, did everything he wanted to do, decided it was time to leave. One of your spiritual other teachers, Michael Rhodes, just passed, and he's on to new adventures. He decided this was, he came, he did, he left. You'll meet your loved ones again, if you so choose. You'll have the opportunity to come back anytime you want. And it's not linear. You can overlap one lifetime from another, usually in another dimension. But yes, there is a slim possibility of yourself meeting yourself, which does happen, and which is probably why you should be nice to other people, because you shouldn't be mean to anybody. You should be nice to other people, be kind and be nice. because love is light, and light needs the darkness. And therefore you have contrast. She thought we were going to say something different. The light needs the darkness, and the darkness needs the light.
Where do we go in this time, in this life, in this place, to actually find out why we are here? Because surely to God, if we had that information, wouldn't it make it a more effective learning, or more a focused learning process?
So you're asking about purpose.
Yeah.
So many of you ask us about, what is my life's purpose? I must have come here to do some great thing. And we're saying to you, and this is an excellent question in light of what she is currently holding, her beloved cat, Anna. Love one another. Be kind to one another. Shine your light onto a world that may be darker at times than others. Find your path to your own happiness and your own self-worth and your own fulfillment. That is your purpose.
Crikey, so there's a lot in there, isn't there?
There's
in there.
But everyone asks us this as if we're going to give you a more definitive answer. And we say to you, so what have you accomplished? Are you happy with that? Are you nice to yourself and to others? Yes, yes, yes. That's your purpose. You all look for greater meaning, as if, well, I should be inventing something, or writing the great American novel, or be a wonderful, I should invent something wonderful. And if you're meant to do that, and if you've evolved enough on this planet to be able to do that, kudos to you, to be able to move the world in a different direction. Those people that you talk about now, your Elon Musks, your Bill Gates, your Mark Zuckerbergs, your Jeff Bezos, those are the men, Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, other human beings. They have evolved enough to be able to fulfill great dreams and great purpose only because they were ready to. And they overcame their own fear and their own fear of judgment to accomplish those items. Does that mean they're better than you? Not in the least. You can be a fantastic father and have as great a purpose as they.
I'm glad you said that, because you're talking just scales here. The Zuckerbergs, the Bezos, the Bill Gates, they achieved their ambitions. Well, this little fella here has achieved quite a few of his ambitions.
Yes, he has.
They're not on the same scale, you know.
But we understand from her, and because we know you, you have been a good father, a good husband, a good mayor, a good police officer. You have done and touched so many lives, and now you are doing so with the sound of music and allowing others, and have touched other people's lives, including our channel, including Miss V, including many others with your White Force Radio. You touch everybody when you wash their windows. That is a wonderful, fulfilling life, if you allow it to be.
I was going to ask you, shine, something you said in your original answer, shine, shine your light. And I was going to ask, how do I do that? But I think you've sort of alluded to that to some extent here.
Indeed.
You know.
Yes, indeed.
But I do apologise for being like that little puppy. This person who has just been given access to all of this.
No, we love little puppies. We love little kitties. We love. We are.
But you know, there is a lot of us, and it's a shame that I missed Blake's session last week.
And yet you're
I fell
having a
asleep.
2-hour private session with us right now. And there will be other sessions that she will hold because, frankly, she sees the worth in them. And that's how she is able to shine a light to whoever is willing and capable of listening to our message.
How did you find Blake?
You find her at her website, which is...
No, how did you, the team...
yes, how did
Blake?
we find her? We found her because it was her time to shine. She's always had that ability. We contacted her while she was in a crib. She was diagnosed as an autistic child without that verbiage around that definition at that time of her life, and was diagnosed as different. But she came to us because the last few lifetimes weren't what she expected them to be, because she wanted greater contrast than she had before. And she has been a great spiritual teacher in past lifetimes, and then took several different detours, and she was ready to return to this lifestyle. And so we contacted her very early on. And of course, she didn't recognize us at the time. We had to shove a book in front of her face. And finally, she stumbled on. And when she was given the opportunity, she said yes, thank goodness. And here we are, many years later.
You back with us now? Is that a yes?
Pardon?
That's you now.
Yes, she is here. We can let her go so that you can talk to her. Hold on just a moment, please.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. You're right.
Sometimes I have to just kind of come back from one of these.
Yeah.
You're talking to Blake now.
At least you're not so obtuse, you know. I get a complete, utter, straight down the middle answer from you.
Yeah, they do have a tendency to a little rambly.
I was infuriated.
Well, they do talk in generalities and not specifics. So
and
they like to get their thoughts out.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! I need to get my pussy now, don't I? I feel really awful.
What, baby?
Yeah.
Well, I think Abby's just about had it with being held right now. She's just decided she's done. Are you done?
Have you stopped that recording?
Okay. So thank you so much, y'all. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it's interesting stuff. It's I'm happy I'm barking up the right tree. My instinct says that I am, you know.
Yeah.